Hello again, viewers, and greetings, fellow space travelers. This is Thorn of Night, and welcome to episode 7 of my tree breeding guide for Minecraft for Forestry and Extra Trees. In this episode, we are going to be going over the trees and the branch started with the Balsa and the lines following it. But before I get into the trees, I would like to say that this map is available for download if you want to take a closer in-person look at what's going on in here, as well as take a look at the tree of trees that I have set up, a sort of tree diagram made up of the sort of steps that it takes to get the different species going. And you'll get a glimpse of that at the end of the episode. But first, let's go ahead and start off with these trees here. Starting off with the balsa, which will require teak and silver lime. And both of those are covered in other episodes. You can see that you get these scrawny little spindly, almost leafless trees. Some of them only have 5 leaf blocks. Some of them have notably more, but not a whole bunch. They can grow up to a height of 15 meters, and they require a gap of 1 on either side of the sapling for a radius of 1 or a diameter total all the way across of 3. Each tree over a sample of 20 will give you, on average, 10.1 logs and 1.9 saplings, and there's no fruit or anything that comes from it. It's just logs and saplings. But you will get this balsa wood, which you can see the bark there, the cross sections of the logs, and the planks from that. Let me make it morning here real quick. And it is a tier 4 tree, which means that it requires at least 1 tier 3 tree, and that would be the teak, in order to get this thing crossbred. If you plant a huge grove of it, you're going to expect to not be able to walk through it. There is a lot going on here, and I bet if you use the Tinker's Construct lumber axe or anything similar, you can probably chop down this whole chunk all in one swing and create lots and lots and lots of lag. But that's what a forest of these look like. And as you can see, they tend to start putting out their leaves at right about this height here. But let's go ahead and move on to the next guy. We have got the black locust, which requires the balsa, which you just got there, and a silver lime once again. Excuse me, sorry about that. The tree is the end of its line. It does not get used in the creation of any new species, but it is a pretty hearty little plant all by itself. It can grow to a height of 9. 2 butterflies right next to each other. Go, shoo, leave me alone. And those butterflies are responsible for these crossbred leaf blocks. I am wearing spectacles, in case you're wondering. That's why they look all white. Otherwise, they just look like that and sort of blend in. But they grow to a height of 9 meters and have some variation in the pattern of the leaves and the trunk and whatnot. Sorry about that. I guess my coffee has made me a little bit throaty for some reason. Apologies. But the black locust tree does need a little bit of room to grow. It needs a gap of 2, a radius, or whatever you want to call it, of 2 out from the sapling. It only requires 1 sapling to get it to grow. And you can expect to get, on average, about 6.6 logs and just over 4 saplings per tree. So you can make an automatic farm of these and not have to worry about running out. But that is the black locust. You can see the bark there, and the cross section of the wood, sort of, I guess, an apricot color, maybe peach color, probably apricot. And here's the planks, and it is a tier 5 tree because it uses a tier 4 to get crossbred. Moving on to another butterfly here, we have the Iroko, or Iroco, however it's pronounced, tree, and it requires the balsa and the teak together. It's another one of those end-of-the-line trees. And it does require a little bit more breathing room in order to get this thing to grow. It requires, to get the maximum size, which you can see it could stick out by 1 leaf or have this 3 cluster here. It requires 4, so it's 9 all the way across. and it will grow to a height of 10 meters, 10 blocks tall. So that is that. It also does not have any fruit, but you will get this gorgeous Iroko or Iroko wood. Sort of a burnt orange or burnt sienna, whatever that color is. That's the cross section of the logs. The outside doesn't give any clue to how gorgeous the actual wood is. I love these planks. But before I spend too much time on those, this is about how close you're going to expect a grove of these to grow together. They don't like to be too terribly close. Looks like they want about 4 spaces between them. Moving on to the next one, we have the rose gum. And this is a balsa tree with a jungle tree. And just like the balsa, it only needs the one gap to grow. And it has a similar sort of feel to the leaf pattern as the balsa, but it does have a bit more height. It can grow up to 20 meters or 20 blocks tall. And it doesn't like to grow too close to each other. The saplings detect how many trees or how many leaf blocks there are up above, how much it has to, I guess, basically push out of the way. And there's a moth stuck in, or a butterfly stuck in there. Funny. Sorry about that. Excuse me. But anyway, the rose gum tree will get you about 13.6 logs and about 3 saplings per tree. More leaf blocks equals more saplings. No fruit or anything, but you can get this eucalyptus wood. Or there are actually 2 different kinds. The bottom 2 are this darker type, and the rest of the tree is that white bark. So there's 2 kinds of eucalyptus wood, but they both make the same planks here, this color for that. And I have some the cross-cut part of the logs visible here, so you can see the 2 side by side as well as the planks. And it is also a tier 5 tree because it requires a tier 4 tree to make. Moving on to the next one, this is the rainbow gum, and it requires rose gum to make as well as balsa. And there's another butterfly. Go away, shoo. And this orange block, this orange wool here signifies that you're going to have to kind of keep an eye on it if you want to make an automatic farm. The first wave of it, you're going to want to probably use a grafter to guarantee getting saplings. Because it's just barely more than 1 sapling per tree. If you want to grow your farm, you're going to need more than that. So that's what that involves. But you get this really, really colorful bark on these trees. The cross section is pretty much the same color interior as the other eucalyptus wood. Yeah, eucalyptus wood. It is also eucalyptus. There are, I guess, 3, maybe there might be more, but at least 3 types of eucalyptus in this mod pack, or in this forestry and extra trees. There are other eucalyptus trees, don't confuse them. They are not necessarily forestry, but these guys can grow to a height of, and I forgot to top it off. Let's go ahead and fix that. I'm sorry about that, guys. Looks like a height of 12 meters. Yeah, that looks about right. So 12 meters tall, 12 blocks. And I'll just leave those in my inventory. Why not? But on average, you can expect to get 8 logs and 1.4 saplings per tree. Just a little bit more than 1 sapling per tree. But that is an end-of-the-line tree. It is the tail end after the rose gum. Moving on to, I guess I should also say, is a tier 6 tree. And these tend to grow pretty close to one another, but not quite as close as the balsa. Anyway, moving on to the next batch, we've got the banana. And the banana and its offspring have an interesting attribute. You can see here that there are no planks. That's because the banana wood has no planks to go with it. But in order to get these, you're going to need the balsa and the jungle bred together. And it is another one of those low sapling yield trees, and you can see why. There aren't really all that many leaves. They are pretty much all uniform. with some slight differences, but they are going to need a space of 2, a radius of 2 out from the sapling in order to grow. And they do produce fruit on the sides of the trunks, but they don't drop anything from the leaves themselves. And they will grow to a height of, let's see here, 7. Look right, yep, 7. And they will produce on average about 5 logs and just over 1 sapling per tree. And you'll get these bananas, which can be used as food, or you can squeeze them into juice. And you get the fruit by knocking off those little pods there, sort of like the cocoa on the jungle trees. And this is, let's see here, let me make sure, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a tier 5 tree. Moving on to the next guy, we've got the red banana, almost identical in all aspects, except this one has a lower yield of saplings, it seems. I was only able to get 18 saplings out of 20 trees, so this is not necessarily going to be easy if you want to set up an automatic farm for these. So keep an eye on that. That's what that red means, is that, or this one specific red block, it means that you are going to get negative return possibly on your farm. But on average, you're going to expect to get 5 logs a piece and 0.9 saplings a piece. If you're really, really lucky, you might get 1 sapling a piece, but it's not enough to grow it. You're going to have to use a grafter. And it is an end-of-the-line tree. And just to show you here, the logs, let me go ahead and take myself off creative. The logs do not make planks, so you are stuck with just the banana wood there. And that's what the saplings look like. All 3 of these trees have almost identical, if not identical, saplings. And this is a tier 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tree. Good, I got that right. And that does require the banana and the kapok in order to be bred. I almost forgot about that. Moving on to morning, to the next tree and final one after the banana in that chain, the plantain, which takes the banana tree and the teak to crossbreed. And just like its predecessor, it has a low sapling yield, about 1.2 saplings per tree and about 5 logs per tree. That seems to be the standard. Let me go ahead and go back to creative here. Same as before, it looks like 7 tall is the expected height, and it's going to need a distance of 2 there. Go away, butterfly, go away, no, leave me alone. And you will get these plantains. Oh, I almost forgot. Apologies. From the red banana tree, you will get red bananas. Imagine that. But anyway, you'll get the plantains, which are just like the bananas and red bananas. You can eat them, or you can put them in a squeezer or whatever to get some fruit juice. And that's the plantain. It is a tier 6 tree. Moving on to the next one, we have got the desert acacia, and it requires teak and balsa together. And it will give you these sort of whitish kind of trees. They do need a space of 4 between sapling and any wall in order to grow. You can typically walk under them. I don't think they grow any lower than this here. But they can grow up to a height of 7, so keep that in mind if you have an enclosed area for these guys. These guys you don't have to worry about running out of saplings anytime soon because there are lots of leaf blocks. You can expect to get about 4.5 logs and about 4.2 saplings per. No fruit this time though, but it does give you this acacia wood, which is kind of a lightish lime green kind of color. That's what the logs look like, the bark and the cross section, and there's planks. And this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tier 5 tree. Moving on to the next one. This is kind of a neat sky blue kind of color. It's called Blue Mahao, and it requires silver birch and the desert acacia, which just got over there. It is an end-of-the-line tree, so there's nothing that comes after this. You can use the end-of-the-line trees for making hybrids, but there's no new species. Now, these trees do require a gap of 3 if you want to get all the variations. You see these little sticky outy bits there. And on top they come to a height of 9. The wood that you are going to get from it, that's what the bark looks like, but the inside has this bluish color, and that's what the planks are when you process the logs. There is once again no fruit that comes from it, but I have bone meal in here. The reason why I have bone meal in here is because if you are going to try to bone meal these, instead of most of the other trees take about 4 bone meal in order to get it to mature. The blue Mahoes take 10. And if you leave a patch of this to grow, it takes forever to get them to grow up. So you'll have to keep the chunks loaded if you want these things to grow on their own, or you're just going to need an army of skeletons to bone meal this species. But you can expect, on average, out of each tree to get about 4.5 logs and just more than 6 saplings. Plenty of leaves, plenty of saplings. And this is a tier 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tree. Once again, into the line. Moving on to another new offspring, we've got the Wang Tree, or however it's pronounced. It requires a desert acacia, and the balsa once again. And you get these sort of squat little trees. They do have a 2x2 trunk, so you'll need 4 saplings in order to get this thing to grow. And they do need a space of 4 to get them to yield all their leaves. They grow to a height of, on average, about 8 as their maximum. And I think it just only grows to a height of 8. I don't think there is any variation in that height at all. I don't see any. There was a little bit of lag there. Sorry about that. There is no fruit or anything like that. And you'll get this nice grayish, brownish gray? I don't know what to call it. Kind of wood. There's the bark and the cross section of the logs there, and here's the planks. You can expect to get about 24 logs per tree. I think it's exactly the same for every tree as far as the height and the output. But the saplings, about 5.5 or more saplings, give or take, per tree. It is just barely enough to increase your yield, and that's why I have the orange block there. You are going to have to keep an eye on it. But there's just one tree. If you graft one of these, you're going to get plenty of saplings to get an army of this going. But it is, once again, a level, or a tier 6 tree, because it requires a tier 5, the desert acacia, in order to get that grown. Moving on to, almost done here, the penultimate species, the Ginkgo tree. And I forgot to put the recipe here. Let me go ahead and make that. I do apologize. That's part of the reason why I'm doing the recording before I upload the map. Oops. Recipe here. Silver lime. Go ahead and put the sign here. And what was that? This one. There we go. Sorry. But it requires a silver lime and a Wang Tree, however that's pronounced. It is the end of its line here, as signified by the red there. It only has a single sapling that's required to grow it, so any extra saplings you get are just icing on the cake. And on average, you'll get about 6.5 logs and just about 10 saplings per tree. There's a lot of leaves there. But as an added bonus, you can see these little nodules on here. If I take this bone meal and right-click on there, you can see it change color like that. This is because it produces fruit. You can get these ginkgo nuts from it. So there is a fruit output from that. They do grow to a height of 10 meters, 10 blocks tall, as the maximum, and they require a little bit of room for the radius out for the maximum. So as you can see, some leaf blocks out there sticking out a little bit farther. There is some variation in the orientation and arrangement of the leaf blocks. But moving on to the... Oh, I'm sorry, I almost forgot. Once again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It is a tier 7 tree. And then moving on to the final tree of this branch, we have Grandidier's Baobab. And there is all kinds of variation in the shape and arrangement and height of the leaves and the trunks and all that. So let me go ahead and do this part. It does require the Balsa and the Wang Tree in order to get it to grow. And the maximum height that I was able to find out of these trees and those trees and all of my other trees for doing the average testing, it comes to 19 tall here, this black block of wool there. Each tree will give you about 112-ish logs on average. Some are less, some are more. That's what an average is. And about 12 thereabouts saplings per tree. No fruit or anything like that, but you'll get this baobab wood, which has this sort of color for the interior, this kind of peachy apricot-y kind of color for the bark, and this weird, almost gross kind of green for the planks. I don't remember it being this color before. I think they changed some of the colors because I thought for sure this was one of my favorite colors of planks. But oh well, that is no never mind to me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It is a tier 7 tree, and it's got these weird little bulby looking saplings. And this is what I was talking about earlier, the tree of trees. And I'll just give you a little glimpse of it here. It's a tree diagram, starting with the core trees, and then the mundane larch branch, and all the trees you get from that. There's the, I think that's the fir branch, and then all the rest of them are accounted for out there, including the 2 new ones, the pink ivory and the osang orange. So that's all covered there, but you can take a look at that if you wish to download this yourself. It's pretty self-explanatory out there. But that is it for the Balsa branch of the trees in this episode. So thank you very much for watching. I hope this was helpful, and I hope I didn't forget anything. I apologize if I do. Like I said, the map for this will be available as a download through a link in the description below. And if you have any questions or comments or suggestions, please feel free to leave them in the comment section below. I'll do my best to respond as quickly as I can. If you like this video and you like what I'm doing here, please feel free to give a like. I do appreciate that. And if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe so you know when my future stuff comes out. I'm going to go ahead and cut off here. So thank you once again for watching. This is Thorn of Night, and I will talk to you later.